Good day, good learners. Welcome to the Natural Sciences lesson. My name is Tibegile Tebe, and this program is proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education. Our topic today is microorganisms, and we are going to be looking at different types of microorganisms and harmful microorganisms. All right, and then let's go and check our objectives. Remember, we need to aim at achieving something by the end of this lesson. What is it that we're going to achieve by the end of this lesson? We are going to explain how microorganisms cause diseases. And we're also going to describe how diseases are spread. And we're also going to explain ways of preventing their spread. All right. And then we get all this from the CAPS document, page 39. Let's look at the pre-knowledge. When we are looking at the pre-knowledge grade 8, we are looking at what we have done in the past. That's our foundation, right? That is prior knowledge of the topic. Remember, when you're in grade 7, you did the classification of living things, where you're looking at the species, the genus, the families, the order, the classes, the phyla, the kingdoms, and even the domain. That's what you did under the classification of living organisms. But today we are looking at microorganisms, different types of microorganisms and harmful microorganisms. And then it is very important for us to define terms. Why? Because in our exams we're going to come across these terms. We are supposed to define terms. All right? Therefore, make use of this time. Make sure you define these terms correctly so that you get them in the exam. And then from grade 8 up to grade 12, you'll be defining these terms. Do you understand? And you'll be getting marks for that. Let's look at the first term that we have. We've got microorganisms. What do you think microorganisms are? Okay, that's fine. They are living organisms. Take note of that. Microorganisms are living organisms, and they are too small to be seen by a what? By a naked eye. But then how do we see them? We see them under a microscope. Do you get that? And then we've got another term, virus. What do you think a virus is? A virus is a very simple microorganism that is dependent on the host to survive. What do we mean if we say it is dependent on the host to survive? The viruses cannot survive on their own, and they don't carry out the 7 life processes. We are talking about reproducing, we're talking about growth, secretion, sensitivity, feeding, but they depend on the host to survive. For example, let's take for example HIV. This virus survives in blood. All right, it needs a host. It gets into the body, that will be the host. Do you get it? But once it is not, it doesn't have a host, it doesn't survive. Simple as that. All right, let's carry on. Grade 8. Then we go to bacteria. What do you think bacteria is? Remember what we said. It is a what? A living organism. And it is made out of what? One cell. You are going to come across unicellular, which means one-celled organism. Therefore, bacteria is a living organism, but it has only one cell. Okay, good. Then let's move on. Then we go to protists. What do you think protists is? When we are looking at protists, these are complex microorganisms. They are complex. All right? Remember, we've got simple and then complex. Okay, that is protists. They are complex microorganisms. And then let's go to fungi. It is a group of microorganisms that include molds, and yeasts. And then what does it affect? For example, molds. If the bread is stale, it will be attacked by molds. How do you see that it is being attacked by molds? It is because there will be filaments, all right? And then that will be mold, and even yeast. Okay. And then we've got another term, magnify. What does the word magnify mean? It is to make something appear larger. All right? When we are magnifying something, it appears larger, it becomes huge, it becomes big, so that we'll be able to see that thing. All right? For example, microorganisms are very tiny, they are very small. It is very difficult to see them using what? With your naked eye. Therefore, we magnify, we look at them under the microscope, and then they appear larger or bigger or huge. Right? They become larger than their actual size. And then you've got another word, unicellular. Uni, grade 8, it means one. Uni means one. Therefore, the term unicellular means it is consisting of one cell. That is unicellular. Are we together? Good. Unicellular means what? Yes, it means it is consisting of only one cell. And then we've got multicellular. All right. When you come across the word multi, it means more than two. It means many. All right. Therefore, multicellular, it means it is consisting of many cells. Are we together? It is consisting of many cells. That is multicellular. All right. Remember, we said bacteria is consisting of only one cell. Therefore, it is unicellular. All right. Let's move on. And then let's look at waterborne diseases. When we are talking about waterborne diseases, we are talking about those diseases that we get from water. All right. For example, if we drink contaminated water, we might get different diseases. We call those diseases waterborne. Waterborne diseases includes any illness that is caused by drinking water that is contaminated with microorganisms. And then we've got different types of microorganisms that causes what? Severe diarrhea and vomiting. And these include protozoa, parasites, and bacteria. We've got a lot of diseases that are caused by waterborne diseases. At times, you drink contaminated water, then you've got an upset stomach, right? And then you'll be visiting the bathroom a lot. You'll be having a waterborne disease. You can have diarrhea, and then the disease can be what? Cholera. Okay? That is a waterborne disease. And then look at the picture there. We've got a nice picture there, which shows a man drinking contaminated water. That water is contaminated. It has got microorganisms. That man can suffer from waterborne diseases because waterborne diseases is caused by what? Contaminated water. All right. At times, people drink water that is not purified. Water, for example, in a river, someone can drink water that is contaminated. Why? Because people might contaminate the water in one part of the river, and then when you drink that water, you will have different diseases. Okay, let's move on. Microorganisms have been on Earth for years, and even now we are still discovering more microorganisms. We're still discovering new microorganisms, but they've been there for years. And these microorganisms, some of them are useful to us, and some of them are harmful. They make us get sick, all right? But some are useful. Why am I saying they're useful? Because we use them to make different medicines. We use them to make different foodstuffs. Therefore, those microorganisms are useful to us. Do you get that? Good. Let's move on. Grade 8. And then we've got a glass of wine. Do you see that glass? And then we've got milk, cheese, and yogurt. And then we also have beer. All these foodstuffs are made using useful microorganisms. All right. Some microorganisms ferment the beer, okay? And then some microorganisms, we use them for kettling milk so that we'll have amasi, all right? And then some microorganisms, we use them for making yogurts and even for making what? Cheese. Therefore, these are useful microorganisms. Do you get that? And then they are found in almost all the areas, especially the Earth's biospheres. You come across the microorganisms. You come across different microorganisms. Remember, we said we've got harmful microorganisms and useful microorganisms. All right. And then let's move on. And then new microorganisms are still being discovered all the time. Okay. Some can be very harmful, causing illnesses and diseases, while others are useful to us and a vital part of the ecosystem. You still remember the ecosystem, don't you? Okay, let's move on. Microorganisms are very useful to us, and some of them are very harmful. If I'm saying they are very useful, what do I mean? It is because we use these microorganisms to make different foodstuffs. All right. And then the harmful ones make us sick. These are different kinds of microorganisms. All right. We've got the umbrella name, that is microorganisms. Then we are going to look at different types of microorganisms. Grade 8. All right. We've got viruses. We also have bacteria. We also have protists. Okay. For example, if we are looking at viruses, remember what we said about viruses. They depend on the host to survive. Do you get that? They depend on the host to survive. They cannot carry out the 7 life processes. Do you get that? So they have to hijack other organisms so that it can survive. And then the bacteria, remember what we said about the bacteria, they are made out of only one cell. Therefore, they are unicellular. Uni means one. Okay. And then we've got fungi. Under fungi, we've got molds, we've got mushrooms and toadstools. These are fungi. And then protists. These are complex microorganisms, and they consist of only one cell. All right. Therefore, I want you to think about different viruses that I've mentioned in the lesson. Just write one virus and then write a disease that is caused by bacteria, especially a waterborne disease. I'll just give you 2 minutes to do that. Hope you are done writing grade 8. And then if you are done, just take a photo of your work and send us to 082 760 2630. Our WhatsApp number again, 082 760 2630. We've got an amazing team behind the scenes who are going to answer all your questions. All right, let's look at one virus that we've talked about. We've got HIV virus. All right. It lives in a host and it survives in what? In blood. All right. And then we've got a waterborne disease. For example, cholera, even bilharzia. All right. These are waterborne diseases. Remember, bacteria is unicellular. All right. And then we also have fungi. We also have protists. Okay. Let's move on. And then let's look at bacteria. Remember, we said bacteria are living things that are neither plant or animals. They belong to a group or kingdom called Monera. And all bacteria are unicellular. What does it mean? All bacteria are unicellular. Therefore, all bacteria have got one cell. Although some of them live together in colonies that are multicellular. All right. They live in colonies. Do you understand that? Good. All right. Let's look at the different shapes of bacteria. For example, we've got the cocci, which are spherical, and then we also have the bacilli that appears like rods, and then we also have spirals. All those are different types of bacteria. They've got different shapes. Do you get that? But all are unicellular. They've got one cell, right? But some bacteria live in what? In colonies. Okay, there will be different filaments, okay, and we call that hyphae. And then we've got protists. These are complex microorganisms. We've got different types of protists. Let's look at the chart there. We've got different shapes. This is a different shape. We also have different shape. And then we've got different shape here, water molds. We've got also green algae. Remember about algae, we said When we're doing photosynthesis, what did we say about algae grade 8? You still remember? Yes, they produce their own food. They are producers, like the plants. You still remember, don't you? That's good. And then we've got fungi. These are living organisms that are related to both plants and animals, but are also in different groups. Okay. We've got unicellular, that is yeast, and also multicellular, that is the mushrooms. And then most fungi grow on food sourced by forming a what? A spreading network of branching threads of filaments called what? Called hyphae. And these filaments secrete enzymes. Okay, they secrete enzymes that digest the food and absorb the pre-digested food. We've got a chart there with the fungi. This is the mushrooms that we are talking about, and this is the mold that is attacking the bread. Okay. And then we go to viruses. When we are talking about viruses, remember they need a host for survival. They need a host for survival. Viruses are microscopic particles that attack the healthy cells of other living cells. Why are they attacking the healthy cells of living organisms? It is because they don't survive on their own. They need a host to survive. All right. They have characteristics of both living and non-living. Okay. Look at the shape of the virus. Let's look at the chart there. It looks scary, isn't it? All right. That is a virus, grade 8. And remember, we said they need a host for what? For survival. Therefore, they don't carry out the 7 life processes. Okay. And they do not break down food for energy. There is no respiration there. Okay. You still remember respiration, grade 8, that we did earlier this term? Good. That's good. They are able to reproduce by using materials from the host cell and that they have met or that they have infected. For example, let's look at the structure of a virus here. Look at it. Look what's happening there. It multiplies. Okay. It infects a cell, then it takes over. Okay. Why? Because it doesn't carry out the 7 life processes. Therefore, it attacks a host and then it infects it and it takes over. That's why people who are infected with viruses, they get very sick. But when they are given medication, the medication controls the multiplication of what? Of the virus. In the process of this type of reproduction, they destroy the what? They destroy the host cell. That's why if someone has got a virus, they become very sick. It is because the healthy cells are destroyed and the virus takes over. Okay. And then most organisms are not visible to the naked eye. Remember, we can't see them with our naked eyes, but we use a what? We use a microscope, we use a magnifying glass to see them. Okay. The only time that we can see them is when we look at them using a microscope or in a micrograph. Do you know what a micrograph is, grade 8? When we are talking about a micrograph, this is when there is a magnified image. All right? If we say magnified image, do you understand? If we magnify an image, it will appear larger than it is. Then it will be easy for us to see the microorganism, because we cannot see the microorganism using our naked eyes, but we can only see them when we have magnified them. We can see them through a microscope, through a magnifying glass, or even through a what? A micrograph. All right. And then there is a scale bar given with a micrograph, which is used to calculate the actual size of the organism in the photograph. Remember, we said they are very tiny. We cannot see them with our naked eyes, but once they are magnified, then it will be easy for us to see them because they will appear larger than they are. They will appear bigger. Do you get that? Therefore, there is a scale to calculate. All right, we've got a scale here. If you come across a micrograph, you are going to see a scale. Do you get that? Good. Because now we can see microorganism very large, but it is not as large as this in real life because we cannot see it with our naked eyes. It is very small, but once magnified, then we can have a look at it because it will be enlarged. It will appear bigger than its actual size. Interesting, isn't it? Good. Let's move on. And then let's go to waterborne diseases again. The best way to prevent this type of infection is to thoroughly wash all fruits and vegetables that are being eaten raw. Remember, we've said microorganisms are everywhere on earth. Therefore, even the fruits that we eat or the vegetables that we eat, they've got different microorganisms. It doesn't mean that all the microorganisms are useful. No. It doesn't mean that all the microorganisms are harmful. No. Okay. Therefore, when you are eating a fruit, when you are eating it raw, you have to wash it so that you remove the microorganisms. And then, even when you are eating raw vegetables, like the salads, we love to eat salads, raw salads, like the mixed vegetable salads. We need to wash the vegetables. Do you understand that? All the food that we eat, we should wash, that we eat raw. Because we might have infections, we might have diseases that have been caused by the different microorganisms. And then the infection is treated with antibiotics. Once we are infected, we go to a health center, then we are given what? Medication. Then the antibiotics kill those diseases. Okay. And steps are taken to ensure that you do not become what? Dehydrated. Okay. At times, if you lose a lot of water, for example, if you are vomiting or you've got an upset tummy, you've got diarrhea, then you can be dehydrated. But you need to rehydrate yourself, right? How do we rehydrate ourselves? We've got salt and sugar solution that we make at home so that we rehydrate ourselves. Okay. Let's look at the picture then. We need to wash our vegetables all the time. And then remember, I said if we are dehydrated, we need to rehydrate ourselves. How do we rehydrate ourselves? We need 6 level teaspoons of sugar, half level teaspoon of salt, and 1 liter of water. But you need to first boil the water so that you'll be rest assured that it doesn't carry harmful microorganisms. All right. Then you make your what? Salt sugar solution, which you can drink. By drinking it, you'll be rehydrating yourself. Okay. Because dehydration kills. Do you get that? Good. Let's move on. We also have different medication when we go to a health center, you'll be given different types of medication so that you will not suffer from these diseases, so that you'll rehydrate yourself and even control or even kill the diseases that we have. And then how do we prevent the infection? Remember, we said we have to wash our vegetables, we have to wash our fruits, and then we also need to wash our hands, all right, and wash the utensils that we are using. And then we've got disease-causing organisms. They occur almost everywhere. Why? Because we said the microorganisms are everywhere on Earth. And then everything that you touch, eat, or even drink has thousands of microorganisms of it. There are a lot of microorganisms. Okay. And then it is better to prevent being infected with these microorganisms than to treat the infection. Okay. Therefore, we need to always wash our hands, wash the food that we are eating, especially the fruits and vegetables that we eat raw. We need to wash them thoroughly. All right. By doing so, we are preventing a lot of diseases. It is better to prevent these diseases than to get sick and then try to control them or cure them. Okay. And then we've got a woman washing her hands. Let's always wash our hands. How do we wash our hands? We wash the inner part of our hands, the outer part of our hands, in between the fingers and the nails. And then we should take about 20 seconds washing our hands to make sure that they are clean before we eat anything. All right? Let's always wash our hands, especially these days with COVID-19. We always wash our hands. We always sanitize our hands. Okay, grade 8. And then let's make sure that the food that we eat is clean, especially when we're making salads, fruit salads, or even vegetable salads. Even all the food that we eat, we must make sure that it is clean. How do we clean the food? We wash our vegetables, we wash our fruits, and then we put them in a container and cover them, and then store them in a refrigerator so that they will be free from what? From germs. And then we've got an activity which I want you to start writing, grade 8. Let's look at the first question. The first question says, what are microorganisms? Then question number 2, what is a waterborne disease and which microorganisms cause it? And then 3, list 4 ways in which you can prevent being infected with microorganisms. Okay. I want you to start writing this, and then after writing, please shoot a photo and send us on 082 760 2630. 082 760 2630. Let's start writing. I'll give you 5 minutes to write. You are done, isn't it? Grade 8. That's good. Let's look at the questions together again. Question number 1 said, what are microorganisms? Then question number 2, what is a waterborne disease and which microorganisms cause it? And then 3, list 4 ways in which you can prevent being infected with microorganisms. Let's look at the first solution. Microorganisms are extremely small living organisms that have got one cell. Therefore, we can say they are unicellular. And we cannot see them with our naked eyes, but we can see them under a microscope. All right. And then we've got micrographs that are showing us the bacteria. Okay? But that bacteria has been made to be large, to appear larger than it is, because remember, we can't see them with our naked eyes, but the micrograph will make them appear larger. They'll be huge, or we can just say big, so that we can study them. And always on the micrograph there will be a scale to show how it has been magnified, how it has been expanded, how it has been made to appear huge, or we can say large or even big. Do you understand? Grade 8. That's good. And then we've got different types of microorganisms, remember? Okay? They appear large when we put them under a microscope, but we've got different types. All right? We've got the harmful ones, and we also have the useful ones that we are using. All right, let's check question number 2. It says, what is a waterborne disease and which microorganisms cause it? All right, when we are looking at a waterborne disease is that disease that is caused by what? Contaminated water. The water can be contaminated with different types of bacteria. For example, E. coli. If the water is contaminated and then you drink the water, you get into the water, then you'll have different waterborne diseases. All right? If you drink contaminated water, then you can suffer from what? You can have cholera. Okay? And it is a very dangerous disease. Cholera is very dangerous because you'll have an upset tummy. When I say upset, do you understand what I mean? All right. If I say upset, it means you'll have a running tummy. You'll have diarrhea. Do you get it? Good. And then it is very dangerous because you will get dehydrated. You lose a lot of fluids. And then in order to rehydrate yourself, you need to make salt sugar solution. Then you will be rehydrated. Or even go to hospital, then they will rehydrate you. Okay, but we can do that at home using salt, sugar, and boiled water. Okay. And then let's go to question number 3. It says, list 4 ways in which you can prevent being infected with microorganisms. Remember, we need to always wash our hands. We need to wash the fruits and even the vegetables, or even all the food that we eat raw. We need to wash it, make sure it's clean. We need to put it in containers, cover it, and put it in the refrigerator if there is need. And then we also need to practice safe sex. Okay. Why? Because there are diseases that are being transferred or transmitted through sexual intercourse. And you need to cover your mouth when you cough or even sneeze. That's why now we've got masks. We put our mask on so that the COVID-19 cannot be transmitted from one person to another. We are protecting ourselves and we are protecting other people. All right. good. And then we need to boil or chemical treat water to kill microorganisms that may be present. All right. That's why when you are making a salt sugar solution, you need to boil your water first to make sure that you kill the microorganisms that are in. And then you need to wear gloves when dealing with bodily fluids such as blood. And we always keep food in the fridge. All right? All right. We are going to summarize our lesson. Make sure you ask questions. Grade 8. Make sure you ask questions. Our WhatsApp number is 082 760 2630. We need those questions. All right? We'll answer you. We've got an amazing team behind the scenes who are going to answer all your questions. All right? Let's look at the video there. We've got a woman washing her hands. Why do we wash our hands? We wash our hands to get rid of these different microorganisms. Okay, you need to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. And how do we wash? We wash our hands using what? Using soap. All right? We wash the inner side. We wash the outer side. We wash in between the fingers. We wash our nails. All right? Using what? A detergent or any type of soap and running water. All right? Then you make sure that your hands are clean. And at times we sanitize our hands. All right? We sanitize our hands to get rid of what? Of microorganisms. Do you get that? Grade 8. And then look at the woman. She's washing her hands in soapy water. All right? In order to get rid of diseases. Okay? And then we've got a chart there. We've got a chart of nice vegetables. Very delicious. We eat those vegetables raw. We can make salads using those vegetables. But what are we supposed to do? We need to thoroughly wash the vegetables. Do you get it? We need to thoroughly wash the vegetables so that we get rid of different microorganisms. Okay? And then you can even wash your vegetables using a little bit of soap so that you get rid of what? Of microorganisms. And then we need to store our fresh vegetables and fruit in a refrigerator so that we know that they are safe. We need to put them in containers and cover them so that they will be free from harmful microorganisms. And then we've got, remember, we've got different types of microorganisms. Okay. And which are these? What did we say? Grade 8. Can you write them down? Just write about 4. Have you written them? Okay. Let's look at them together. We've got viruses. We've got bacteria. We've got fungi. We've got protists. All right. What did we say about the virus? A virus needs a host for survival. What does it mean if it needs a host for survival? It cannot survive on its own. It cannot carry out the 7 life processes. Do you get it? But it needs a host. It needs to survive somewhere. All right. For example, the HIV, it stays in the blood or in the bodily fluids. All right? That's where it survives. Once it is out of the body, it won't survive. It is difficult for it to survive because it needs a host. All right? And then it multiplies. It invades a host. And then when it takes over, then the person will be very sick, okay? Because the virus takes over, it infects the healthy cells and it multiplies. Then the person will be very sick. And then we control it so that the person will feel better. For example, the HIV. And then the viruses, remember, they cannot carry the 7 life processes. Okay, and then let's go to bacteria. When we're talking about bacteria, these are organisms that are unicellular. And what we mean by unicellular, if we say they are unicellular, it means they only have one cell. Do you get that? Bacteria are unicellular. They only have one cell. And then let's go to fungi. Fungi, we've got molds. All right? For example, if the bread is stale, have you seen the thread like on bread? The bread will be having thread strings or filaments. That is the mold. And if the mold further attacks the bread or break down the bread, you'll see a greenish color. Mold is very dangerous if we consume it or even smelling it. It is very dangerous when it gets into us. It can even kill you. All right. And then we also have protists. Protists are very complex. They consist of what? One cell. They are also unicellular. Like what? Like bacteria. Okay. And then let's check your WhatsApp, grade 8. If you have sent any WhatsApp questions, it seems nobody sent a WhatsApp question. Did you send WhatsApp? Let's check. It seems no one sent a WhatsApp. But make sure that you ask questions if you don't understand. All right. Ask questions if you don't understand. Remember, we are talking about microorganisms, and we've got different types of microorganisms. We've got the harmful ones. We also have the what? The useful ones. The harmful microorganisms will make us sick, but the useful microorganisms will help us, especially when we are making different types of foodstuffs or even medication. Okay, but the harmful ones, for example, E. coli, it's a waterborne disease. Okay, it will make us have what? Cholera. Okay, then we'll get sick. Let's look at bacteria again. Bacteria, these are living. It is living. It has only one cell. Therefore, we call it what? Unicellular. All right. But it is not a plant. It is not an animal. All right. But it is living. And then the bacteria belongs to a group that is called what? Monera. All bacteria are unicellular, meaning they've got only one cell. All right. And then some live together in colonies that are multicellular. Remember, when we're talking about multicellular, multi means what? Many. It can be two or many, that is multicellular, but unicellular is one. It means one. All right. And then we've got different types of bacteria. We've got the cocci ones. They look spherical. They are spheres. Okay. Let's look at these different types of bacteria. The spherical ones, these are the spherical ones. And then we've got the bacilli ones. They look like rods. That's the shape of the bacilli. And then we also have the what? The spiral ones. Okay. These are the spiral ones. Okay. This is a very good picture which shows you different types of bacteria. And then with protists, these are complex microorganisms. And we've got different types and different shapes. Let's look at the diplomonads, and then let's look at the dinoflagellates, and then we also look at the green algae. It is a protist. And remember, when we're talking about algae, it brings us back to what? To photosynthesis. And algae produces its own food. It is a producer. All right. And then we also have water molds. Just look at the shape of it. Okay. And then we've got diatoms. These are diatoms. Look at the shape of the protists. Okay. We've got different types. We've got all these. There are different types of what? Of protists. And then with fungi, these are living organisms and are related to both plants and animals, but are also different from these groups. And they are unicellular. For example, yeast. It is unicellular, meaning what? It has one cell. All right. And then the multicellular one is a mushroom. Okay? Mushrooms are multicellular, meaning they've got many cells. And then fungi grow on food source, forming a what? A spreading network of branching threads or filaments called hyphae. That is fungi. All right. And then these filaments secrete enzymes that digest the food and absorb the digested food. All right. This is all about fungi. And then we've got pictures there of fungi. All right. You can see the mushrooms growing on a log there. And then you can see a mold attacking bread. All right. When does the mold attack bread? It attacks bread when the bread is stale. If we buy bread and keep it for long, then it will start getting stale. It will start getting attacked by these molds. You can see the filaments. You can see the shape. You can see the color. It has got a greenish color. And then the mold is very dangerous. If you eat or you can smell it, you get sick. And then we've got viruses. Remember, viruses attack the host cell because they don't have, or they don't have the 7 life processes. They don't carry out the 7 life processes, but they need a host for survival. They attack the healthy cells, and then if they attack the healthy cells and take over, the person will be very sick. All right. That is the virus. And then they've got the characteristics of both living and non-living. They have the characteristics of both living and non-living. Let's look at the shape of the virus. It looks scary, isn't it? Just look at the shape. That's a virus. Okay. And then remember, we said they don't carry out the essential life processes, okay, like the living organisms. And then they do not break down food for energy, that is respiration. There is no respiration there, okay. And they are only able to reproduce by using materials from the host cell that they have infected, okay. Let's look at the structure of the virus. Do you see the structure of the virus? It attacks a host cell, a very healthy cell, and then it multiplies. Do you see how it multiplies? It multiplies very fast. It's scary, because when a person has got a virus, for example, HIV, you will see them losing weight, getting very sick. if they don't go to a health center. Why? It is because the virus would have attacked the healthy cells, they would have taken over, then the person gets very sick. But if they go to a health center, they will be given medication which will make the virus, which they control the virus. The virus is controlled, okay, so that it doesn't kill us. All right. And then look at the type of the production. It multiplies, okay? And then as it multiplies, it destroys the healthy cell. And then most organisms are not visible to the naked eye. We have said they're not visible to the naked eye, but they are what? They are very tiny, they are microscopic. We can only see them under a microscope. At times we make a what? A micrograph in order to see them. Okay. And then let's look at our summary. Unless if there are questions, you can ask questions so that we understand what you didn't understand. Is there anything that you want to ask grade 8? Did you understand? Good. Remember to always wash the fruits and vegetables. And if you've got diarrhea, if you are dehydrated, make sure you rehydrate yourself. You make salt, sugar solution, and you go to a health center and make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you wash the food that you are eating. Make sure the food is packed in containers and it's in the refrigerator. Okay. And then make sure you're always safe. Thank you very much, grade 8. I hope you enjoyed the lesson as I've done. Make sure you always sanitize your hands, maintain social distance, and always wear a mask. So long for now.